everyone, it's Jimmy from Internal here, and today I'm going to show you the basics of using our image component. So the image component will allow you to add images into the tools that you're building in Internal. You can do so by adding the image component here, and then go to configure it. And now the most important thing to understand here within this setup is that the template and what you put in here is essentially the URL that's going to point to your image. So for example, if you just want to do a fixed image, you can just dump in the whole image URL here. Let's give it a name and then hit save, and then voila, there you have your fixed image that is going to be displayed. But in most cases, actually, you're not going to want a fixed image. You're probably going to want an image that dynamically changes based on, what a user is doing within the tool, such as showing different users headshots when you click on their information. And so in order to do that, what we need to do is to build out a URL template. In this case, we're going to use a site called Pick Some Photos that will just host the images that we want. And then the final bit of the image path is variable, and we actually have the image paths in this table here. So what we do is we'll hit insert variable, and then we'll choose the sample image table because that's what has that last bit of the URL that we need. And then we'll say whatever selected row that the user selects in that table, we're going to want to pick up the data, and then specifically we want to pick up the data that's in the file path column. That's what's going to complete our URL. So you'll see it's picksome.photos / basically in this table whatever is the selected row and then the file path column. So then once we hit save here, and then let's click save again here, and now you'll see that whenever we select the row in the table, it's generating the image from that site. And the last thing that I want to show you is how to achieve the same effect if you don't actually have this table in here to start with. So let's actually take this component out. Okay, and now let's go to edit our image component. And a couple of things that we want to do. First, we want to actually turn this toggle on. This toggle basically asks you, do you need to grab additional data from outside this space? And since we no longer have that table that provides our file path, we do need to turn this toggle on and say, okay, let's actually grab that same information from the same place. Let's go to the test images data source and then the samples resource, which contains our file path. And then much in the same way, we're going to complete the template URL here by going to insert a variable. And this time we're going to pick own query because we're essentially querying this resource. And then we're going to pick the data, and then once again we're going to grab the data that's in the file path. Now, the last thing that we need to do here is, if you'll remember, we were able to select a particular row in the table that we had before. In this case, we don't know what row to grab the file path from. And so we'll actually need to go into advanced to kind of add filters to the query to kind of filter that down. So by default, the first record returned by this query is going to be the one that populates your image template. But you can use filters here, just like you would in other components, as well as the sort order option here to kind of determine what that first record would be. And in that way, you can kind of figure out which row you're grabbing the kind of file path data from. And so that's it. That's the basics of how to use our image component. I hope you found this helpful.